Welcome to B2B Life with Jeff Brummer. This is your chance to listen in on conversations with successful entrepreneurs and business owners on their journey to success. Every story is different, but after consulting thousands of businesses over the last 20 years managing their business payments, Jeff has seen what works and what doesn't. From inspiration to tactics to a good laugh, helping leaders build more fulfilling businesses and lives is what B2B Life is all about.
Welcome to the B2B Life podcast and show where we connect high performers and you find out what makes them tick both professionally and personally. My name is Jeff Brummer and I've helped over 2,600 business owners and C-level clients over the last 20 years in professional services and cash flow management and personal and business goals. My guest today is Bryan at EGT. EGT is one of the largest solar companies in the Northwest. It's made the Inc. 5000 list. And Bryan has worked with some of my mutual clients and given them some amazing services and products which they've been super happy with. Bryan has been in the solar industry and owned this company for 14 years. And we like to welcome Bryan to the show.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me.
Yeah, so real quick, what's your role in the company and kind of what's your background of what type of products you guys offer and what you like to do?
Sure. I'm currently the president, founder. Have kind of over the last year, I would say, taken on a new role of kind of business strategy of how we grow our offering, regionally, nationally, whatever that might look like. And so that's kind of where more of my focus lies now than kind of the day-to-day operations. The products we offer, we're a full kind of top-down, fully integrated solar company. We do everything A to Z, so we don't outsource any of our work. We employ all of our own people, including electricians and installers. So I think that's a big separator for us in the industry is very few people go sell solar to a consumer, albeit residential or commercial, and then do the permitting and the design and the engineering and all of the legwork in between, and then do the install and then handle service after the fact. And so that's
I've had door-to-door knockers from Utah, and the company's based out of Utah, but yet the installers are subcontracted here in Idaho. And you guys are in a unique position. And full disclosure, we've got solar on our roof, and you guys have done a great job from cradle to grave. So
yeah, we appreciate that, and that's that statement kind of sums up what our goal is. Jeff, is if clients have a good experience, the type of clientele that we work with day in, day out are clientele that have large business networks, large personal networks, and they're very connected in the community. And those people sometimes are hard to work with, right? And hard to keep happy. But I think if you set clear expectations with any consumer, and what you tell a consumer is how the project actually flows from beginning to end, then those people, in my opinion, are they'll sing your praises. They'll tell everybody they had a wonderful experience. Everything they told me was going to happen. Those are the killer reviews that you love to see. That it's very hard to do that. There's a lot of moving parts when you're fully integrated like we are, and time is of the essence. We average probably, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks faster install time than anybody in our region right now. And that just comes down to really focusing on efficiencies and process.
Yeah.
And, there's a ton of growth and a ton of constant improvement in that area, as that's, what allows us to continue to keep growing from a revenue and a profitability standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. I know some of our our business clients have been happy, and you guys have been around a while, which is amazing. In fact, I've had 2 solar systems with you guys. And I think it's pretty awesome that you guys are homegrown out of Idaho, and it's been great to work some mutual clients together. So just bragging time. You guys have been around a while. Like I said, solar is highly, it's a booming industry. This is bragging time for you. What are some skills or natural talents that you feel about yourself that have led you with this company to be successful? Like, what are things that are kind of God-given, talents versus things you really have to work at skills in leading your company?
Well,
don't be humble on this.
That's a good question. I would say resiliency is the first thing that comes to my mind. I personally, didn't grow up super poor, certainly didn't grow up, rich either. Right. So there were some struggles along the way. I think, I was a big time athlete, played basketball and for a year in college, and then golf, as with you, in college for 4 years. And so, playing all these sports at a different day and age where our kids now seem to focus on one sport. I mean, we played everything. So I think being exposed to that team mentality and relying on, my teammates and knowing that my teammates are relying on me. And I'm just super competitive. And I'm also very stubborn and resilient. I think you could use those words in place of each other, depending on who you're talking to. My wife would say stubborn and I say resilient.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's a lot of fortitude is another word that comes to mind. Is we've seen an industry. It's just been a roller coaster for 14 years. You'll have some really good years. You'll have some policy stuff that hits you that you have to kind of pivot and quickly kind of re-strategize and deploy these new game plans and seeing that roller coaster ride for 14 years builds confidence in kind of being able to handle anything out there. Right. And, so I would say more than anything is just mental fortitude and resiliency to kind of work through and continue learning and continue getting better personally. I'd say naturally, I've always had a very good ability with people. I've done well at every sales. I've trained thousands of sales reps throughout my career. I think that's by far my biggest strength is for some reason, when I tell people, they seem to believe me all the time, Brummer. But no, I've never, from a sales perspective, I've never been the slimy sales guy. I just shoot it straight to people. Very honest and very sincere. And, we've built a very ethics-based business that I'm incredibly proud of, because there has been many times along the way where we could have cut some ethical corners and probably grown the company faster. But, looking backwards now, I'm really glad that we kind of stayed the course and that we haven't, haven't ever lost sight of ethics in business and morals.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I would say the same thing about you. I know we sold door-to-door pest control fairy tale ago, like 20 some years ago. And I think that you're really naturally good at reading people and kind of talking to their level and not talking over them or at them. But yes, I think you've got some great talent there. So that's been fun to watch. What are some things that you motivates you? Not this is the B2B life podcast, right? So work-life balance. I know you got a great family. Whether it's motivating you to be a better dad or a better husband or just a better business owner, like what are things that motivate you deep down? Like what motivates you or what gets you going in the morning?
Certainly my family. I mean, I'm a very active dad. I try and be at all the school functions and plays and sports and really be there for my kids. I think that's I think a lot of entrepreneurs get caught up in no work-life balance, and it's a hard thing. I think when you're trying to get a company off the ground, there's a conflict in your mind of the harder I work, the quicker it's going to work potentially, or the bigger it's going to get, and the more money.
I'm doing this all for my family, and you go head down when it's you got to watch yourself there too. Yeah.
Sure, it's a slippery slope. right? And I think there's a couple of years along those 14 where, I probably lost sight of that, my kids are at an age right now where they would call me out and they would let me know that, hey, Dad, you're not here enough, and you're not, I never want my kids to have anything in their mind that they would have had me do different.
Yeah.
And I think that's every child's goal is I want to be a better dad than my dad was, and he probably wanted to be better than his dad was. I think if we all kind of have that mentality, we leave our kids in a pretty good position from a parenting standpoint. So I would say first and foremost, family. As you know, I'm an avid golfer. That motivates me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very much so.
Avid and really good golfer. So yeah, just you're being humble again. So
well, it's hard to maintain that with working and growing a business, as you know. But I would say that I've got a very, very good business network and I would say mentor type network in this valley that's really got me through some tough times. As you know, we kind of I started EGT originally with two business partners, and we had kind of a separation, if you will, in late 2019. And that was a very stressful time where I leaned on a lot of people in this valley to kind of guide me through that and really help me kind of understand, how to work through that and stay positive and not let that stress really, get me down to the point where, it's affecting the business. Right. So it's really hard sometimes to separate that, but I would say great family, great friends. Certainly my wife that's put up with me, in a business venture like this, where, we started EGT with a SBA loan many, many years ago. And, shortly after we had built a new home here in Boise and Southeast Boise at that time. And, it's an interesting thing going to your wife and explaining that the SBA wants to put a lien on your house so you can go start this business that doesn't really exist anywhere in the state right now. Yeah. But I think it's going to work, babe. I really think this is going to work. Just trust me. So she's been through it all. She was there with me for my former business, and saw the ups and downs through that, and the ability to kind of get out on the good side and sell it profitably. And she's seen the roller coaster of the last 14 years at EGT. So, kudos to her for, being a tremendous mother along the way when I haven't had the ability to be there for my kids, and travel and all that stuff that comes with this. So super grateful for her. And definitely my kids have really changed my perspective on how I run my business, to be honest with you. I always kind of in the back of my mind, if, you're making these decisions day in, day out, and, you're guiding and leading people and sales staff and all these things, you have an impact on their life. And so I kind of look at my kids of, okay, if this decision I make inside my business, what would my kids think? Right. Yeah. 20 years from right now, if they knew this was the decision I made, what would they tell me? Which is sometimes a crazy mentality to have. But my kids, all kids are super smart, right? They're crazy what they pick up on. And, my kids call me out on stuff all the time, unfortunately. And I don't really have much to say to them other than, yeah, Dad will do better. So,
yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, I am writing down notes because I think that was one of the next questions I was going to ask you is about leadership. And I think that's important. And I like that. I've actually never really heard that before in a business. Hey, what would my kids think of this decision potentially down the road 20 years from now if we go this route? Like what bringing them involved, like keeping that definitely keeps more of a long-term perspective rather than like a knee-jerk reaction. Hey, let's do this without really playing it down the road. And so that's cool. No, I appreciate the vulnerability there. What's a good are you listening to good business or personal, good mindsets with like a personal, what am I trying to say here? Like a business book or personal development book or a podcast? Like what's something that you've read recently or you've listened to that you like that you could recommend to other business owners or to other men or husbands or fathers? Like, is there anything that you've consumed recently that you like?
I haven't lately done that. We've been going through this, net metering rate case here in Idaho, and so most of my reading, unfortunately, has been hundreds and hundreds of pages of legal jargon on technical stuff. So, from a business standpoint, I'm a firm believer in the right people in the right seats. I really like the mentality of I've said this many times, that I don't hire resumes, I hire people. And, I'm a huge believer in company culture, being a backbone of any business. And I've seen it firsthand of really having that mentality. If the personalities are a fit and you're in the right seat doing the right function that your personality best suits you for, then we're going to get the most out of you as a person, regardless of what that role is. And, so I'd say that's where my focus lies inside my business is giving people room to grow. Right. And really listening. We get yelled at probably all the time, Jeff, from our wives, that sometimes we may or may not listen fully to what they're telling us.
Active listening, they call that, right? You need to be active.
Right. You're here, but you're not here.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
It's true in business too. I think some of the best ideas and best sales pitches and best, kind of one-liner things in the sales industry I've ever heard was sometimes training reps that that were day one on the job. And when those things happen, it's kind of this aha moment of like, what did you just say? Where did you think of that? Like, where did you come up with that? I've been doing this for years and I would have never thought of that. And it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I've used that kind of throughout my business career as a crutch, really, of make sure you're listening to your people. Just because you have a different title and you started the company doesn't mean that somebody else probably, can't have a better idea than some of the decisions that you've made to get it to this point. So listen to your people, value your people, and make sure that your people are in a position within your company to excel and be happy doing it. Because if they're not happy doing it, then the culture goes backwards, and that's a tough thing to fix.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, so everyone has some God-given talent you can learn little things from everyone. That's good to have that humility for sure. That's cool. What about what's something like a life hack, something that you've done to simplify your life? We have these cell phones. They want to there's people on the other end of that in social media and things that want to keep our eyeballs on the phone infinitely. What are some things that you found to like simplify your life, whether business or personal, like to make sure your priorities are focused? Like what's something that you've done, like a life hack that you've done or tactically or strategically?
Getting involved with my family calendar. That's probably saved me many lashings, tongue lashings. I don't know. I mean, I have really good people, right? I mean, I've got a lot of good people that are surrounding me, including my wife that help me out with a lot of that stuff. And, so I can make things a priority outside. You got to have work-life balance, and that can't just include your family. So, I love tennis. I love pickleball, golf, anything active. I play a lot of basketball with my son still. So, those things, I think, if I didn't have people helping me out, both in the business and at my house and at home, right, I wouldn't have the luxury of the time to go out and do those things. So I wouldn't say so much a life hack or an app or anything like that, but obviously phones have made life much easier, and the ability to run a business mobily essentially on my side is pretty convenient, I would say.
Yeah, Yeah, for sure. It can be always with you. That could be a good or a bad thing, but definitely at least gives you the option to make it a good thing so you could be with your family and kind of not be stuck at the office anytime you want to do work, for sure.
Yep.
What about here's a kind of a business owner hat question. What's a business expense you don't mind buying, whether it's maybe some tax strategy or personal benefit? Like, what's something you bought in the business you're like, this is cool, this is worth it?
That's a good question. Well, selfishly, I would say my Rivian, Jeff.
There you go. Yeah.
Because
being able to write off a car that you want, makes sense.
Yeah, and it goes along the lines of with what we do. We do battery technology and solar technology and EV chargers and all things energy, right? So I would say that's a good thing. What else would I say that we have purchased or kind of a tax?
Have you have you involved your kids in the business as far as paying them out of the business? I know there's some benefits to that as a business owner.
They're coming at the age where I'm looking at doing that. In fact, I just got 529 accounts going for them a couple of years ago, and now I'm looking at once I put them on payroll, I'll do custodial Roth.
Yeah.
For them, which I think is a no-brainer, to be able to kind of put some money away.
Yeah, we've got a side business that we do that with, and the beauty of that, I think you can pull it out for your kids' education, even not a 529. Well, of course, 529 is dedicated to education, but I think even on a Roth IRA, I think there's some tax benefits there for education.
It's just I kick myself. I made a bunch of money when I was young, in the summer selling pest control, and probably, didn't know what I was doing with the money at the time, and had a lot of fun and don't regret any of it, but definitely should have put a lot more of it away too. So, I sound like the classic parent. My kids are probably like, oh yeah, you think you know everything. And so sometimes I got to stop myself and get out of that mentality and just kind of tell them, hey, I think this is a good idea. And then when you're able to actually go out and get your own job, then, you have something to contribute to.
Yeah. Yeah. The beauty of paying your kids through the business is you can actually dictate how much money goes into savings, so that you kind of control the whole process there, which is nice.
Yep.
So
I think all the software now with financial management apps for kids has gotten really cool with debit cards and things like that. We've done that with our kids, which was, I don't think they understand what it takes. They see something in a store, they want it, they beg you for it, you go buy it. But I don't think they understand the work that went in to be able to purchase that thing, and it might be something they mess around with for, or wear or whatever for a couple months, and then they're over it. Right. But it's a $50-$100 type item. And, I think it's just a different day and age, right? So having some of these financial management apps that are kind of built and tailored more towards kids now are really exciting, because we didn't have that, coming up.
Yeah, making the tough decisions with finances is something that if we can help the kids do early on and kind of put our arms around them and like, hey, you made this and now you can't do that. And it's good to have them make some tough decisions, because if they learn it now while they're in the petri dish of our house, they can, make better decisions when the money gets a little bigger down the road, so
hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully it grows. They're not staying in your basement.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
In Fortnite.
That's right.
Yeah. No, I think the opportunity for kids now too to build credit at an early age is a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Right. Like most, maybe you remember differently, but I mean, my parents never sat me down and told me, hey, go get a credit card, but don't be an idiot and max it out in the first week you have it. So I think that's probably something a lot of kids did back in our days, right?
Oh yeah,
because they didn't know any better. They're like, "What? You mean I have a limit? Okay, cool, but $1,000. Awesome. Well, let's go
Yeah.
shopping.
Yeah, exactly. You just summed up my 20s. So we all learned those mistakes now.
Yeah.
And now it's I love Dave Ramsey, but I think in our 30s and 40s, a lot of speaking from the Capital One business card, we get some of those guys like, oh, I never put anything on a credit card, and I'm like, hey, just treat it like a debit card, man. Pay it off as you go, and you're getting the 2% cash back, but that's something that you definitely want to help your kids out before they get out in the wild, which sounds like you're doing. What's your morning routine look like? How do you tee yourself up, pun intended, for a good day? Like, what's your first couple hours look like?
I always try and get some sort of workout in the morning. First a cup of coffee.
Okay, get you going.
Nothing happens before that. Definitely. I'm not a huge, and I know this goes against the grain for a lot of entrepreneurs, but I read a lot of articles and things like that relative to my industry, but I wouldn't say I'm a big reader outside of that. So I'm not a guy that's going to get up in the morning and read a motivational book in the morning. I mean, I wake up kind of hot to the point where I'm just ready to go. So usually if I get some sort of physical activity in the morning, whether it, early morning basketball or the gym or, even going and hitting golf balls in the morning, in the summer months is something I really enjoy when no one's out there and it's quiet. Mm-hmm. It's pretty peaceful, but usually that's kind of what it consists of is, I'd say in recent years, I've really enjoyed interacting with the kids and watching them, hopefully sometimes fighting in the mornings when they're getting ready for school. But, I'll often drop my kids off at school, which I think is pretty fun for me. Just, being able to interact with them and not have to leave, not in a position where I have to leave so early in the morning that I miss a lot of that in the mornings, which I really appreciate that, the ability to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've enjoyed that too, being a business owner in my current position where I can kind of set my own schedule and bring kids to school, bring them home, be at all their sporting stuff. That's super important. Yeah.
I'm the breakfast guy in the house. So
nice.
Oftentimes I'm making breakfast. My 10-year-old now is taking over fried egg duty, so I don't have to do that near as much anymore. So, but making lunches and just kind of being there with them. I think that's kind of what most of my mornings look like. And then it's, you're in the battlefield. Once you step foot in the office, it's go time. So,
yeah, that's awesome. No, I could see you with an apron on, so that's good. Okay. Yeah, you're so. This is the fun part of the interview here. What's a fun place? What would be a fun place that you've been to and traveled? So obviously, our rewards on our credit card kind of push out the 2% cash back, or we also have a travel card. But obviously, we like to incentivize people to make memories with that. What's a cool place that you've gone? Maybe at least one that you've liked on a trip that you could let the cat out of the bag, and we hopefully won't flood too many people there after you've told us.
Most recently, my wife turned 40. Yes, she's younger than me, Jeff.
Nice.
So we went to Playa del Carmen, did Tulum.
Ooh, nice.
There was 4 couples that went down their house right on the beach. That was super fun. I would say that was a Capital One cashback sponsored event.
Ooh, that's what we like to hear. Okay, good.
Considering that, I covered the house for all the couples while we were there. So those. Oh,
it's nice of you.
Yeah.
Good.
So that was super fun.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Surprised.
I got to start asking for pictures for my clients. I think I could get some good ones. Make sure they're all PG rated. But yeah, I'd love to.
Sure. Yeah. Careful. We surprised the kids last year. Not this. I guess 2020 22, we did Disneyland for Christmas, which was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I just had friends that did that, and they said Christmas Day was super busy.
It's always busy.
Yeah,
it's a rat race. But
Christmas Day was nuts.
Yeah, it was fun. I think the kids were at the perfect age for it. That ended up being a really good experience.
Cool.
But it's for adults. I think Disneyland's a war of attrition. You get in there and you just battle.
Race to each line and sit there and wait.
Yes, I'll do the Incredicoaster for the 11th time today. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like a 3 out of 10 fun factor for you, but it's 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 for kids. So you're like, all right, we'll put up with it.
Yeah. So I would say that's probably Scotland and Ireland. Those
would be good.
Yeah. So my wife's the Capital One Venture X card holder also.
Okay, excellent.
So that's kind of how we accrue our flight miles and status stuff on that side of it. So yeah, we're full go and got to experience one of the new Capital One lounges.
Ooh, which one?
Recently in Dallas.
Ooh, that's my favorite. They have Peloton bikes. They got the good food. They got I don't know if you noticed, but they have bidets on the toilets.
They have bidets. They have a yoga room.
Yes.
Did not go to the yoga room.
That's good.
Yeah, that lounge is really cool. Sounds like they're building some other ones too.
The nap pods. I think there's going to be one in Vegas. We just opened one in Denver that I was at.
Denver, yeah.
6 weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah, once you go to the lounge, you don't go back with the chickens and the cows and the common folk in the airport lounge. Yeah.
No, Gen Pop.
Gen Pop.
General population.
Oh, the Gen Pop. I gotta use that. Yeah, no, it's tough to go back, man.
I know. You get spoiled. So
well, good. A couple last questions before we tie this in a bow. What are your retirement goals? Like, do you have plans post business, or can you envision yourself working as long as you're still having fun, or like what's your outline of Bryan 20 years from now? What are you thinking?
20 years from right now? I mean, honestly, the goal for me is to be in a position to retire or kind of transition into something different. I would say within the next 10 years.
Okay.
Potentially sooner. I don't know that I would have the energy on the other side to do a new venture, startup, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I really, really love this industry. I've got to know every facet of it. I think there's some good consulting opportunities out there, building a company in a very micro market where the market really doesn't exist. You've got to get really creative. And I think that's lent to understanding the efficiencies of the industry and where others have gone wrong many, many times, seeing now 22 different companies enter this market and fail. So that's the stuff that kind of drives me. Is I think that there's some, the merger acquisition world is super interesting to me. I just love learning about business in general and hearing people's success stories and challenges. But I think the solar industry in general, it's not going to go anywhere in our country or globally in any of my kids' lifetimes, at least. I think that there's some huge opportunities out there to get involved with some younger solar operations and really kind of refine and help build them and get them to a level where they're successful and kind of can stand on their own.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, that's good to know you're not going anywhere tomorrow. I've got for our own solar system, we want to add batteries and kind of. I know Idaho Power kind of stuck us with a bunch of changes. Unfortunately, we've got to deal with that monopoly. So I'm excited to kind of work with you on adding some battery system and kind of working with you down the road with some of my clients on that front to kind of navigate. It's good to know that you're kind of have a pulse in all that. In fact, you probably have a say in some of it. So it's good to know that we can kind of consult with you for me and my clients on some of those needs as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we're doing a more battery install volume than most companies in the Western U.S. right now, per our manufacturers or battery manufacturers that we're leaning on, of course. But yeah, batteries are, the technology has advanced phenomenally. People are driving cars down the road that are supercars, with the battery technology, as owning a Tesla. And it's interesting. Utilities will be utilities. Solar is not going anywhere. Cost points are going to get better. Utility rates have to get higher. There's no running and no hiding from either one of those facts. So, I think that the moves, not just with Idaho Power, but other utilities really all across the country, this is happening. I look at it from a pure anti-competition standpoint. If I can provide a better, cleaner source of power and do it cheaper, then why wouldn't somebody use me versus any utility, right? And battery technology, if you can store your own excess and offload it at peak times and have backup capabilities when the grid goes down intermittently at peak times in the summer, or hairy conditions, winter conditions, and in our winter months here in the Northwest region, it's a huge luxury, right? I think that is the future, and I think utilities in general in 30 years are threatened.
Yeah, we've had with the rate increase, or with the issues with Idaho Power not doing the 1-to-1, that's in the business and the commercial side too as well, right? For buildings, or is that just residential?
That was just a residential rate case that we went through most recently. Back in 2019, they did what's called the CNI rate case, where they looked at agricultural and industrial building meter classes. So, I look at it this way. I think it's not so much that utilities don't need distributed energy sources on people's homes all throughout the Treasure Valley. Because their grid absolutely does, whether they want to admit that or not. I think it is purely, if I'm taking you and your wife to the ability to have a $5.24 power bill, and that growth continues to happen every time the utility raises the rates, because now your payback's more attractive than it was the year before, that when you might not have moved forward with this. So this is the tipping point, right? Is we know what rates have to do over time. They're going straight up, but you buy solar, it stays flat, and the quicker power goes up from that point, which we're going to see some alarming increases, I think, both, not just in residential rate classes here in Idaho. I think it's across the board. And this is kind of the first time Idaho Power has publicly come out and not really shied away from that. I mean, they're meeting with commercial clients actively right now and saying, hey, you can expect 10%, over the next 3 years in a rate 9 or a rate 7 rate class. And they're being very open about it and transparent, because the population's outrunning the infrastructure. We have to maintain, a grid at an age where it needs more maintenance and more expense to maintenance.
What percentage, sorry to cut you off, what percentage of these business clients do you think actually read the bill or are on pulse of that increase? Whether they own a building themselves or they're
it's hard to say. I mean, how many times before you looked into solar, Jeff, as an Idaho Power residential consumer, or any utility residential consumer, looked at the fee line items on your power bill?
Never. Yeah, you just look at the total dollar amount. Basically.
Write the check. I don't have time.
So they effectively could gradually, subtly raise their rate, and most of these building owners in industrial buildings that have solar or don't have solar and are just paying the power for everything, it's like a frog in boiling water. They probably just eventually it just keeps going up.
Yeah, I mean, when I started the company in 2010, I believe at that point, don't quote me, that the junk fee or the line items on your power bill that weren't your actual usage from your tiers and how we're built for our power were about 8% of the check you wrote every single month. Right now, those are about 24%.
Oh, okay. So a guy that's got solar effectively is still getting their bill raised because their fixed item fees are still
well. No, not necessarily, because when you do solar, those fee line items go down to 24 cents in total in most cases. So you have your meter fee at your $5, which now will go to 10 under the new structure.
Okay.
But the 24 cents is a leftover fee line items on your power bill. So that's absolutely part of the inflation equation when we're looking at estimates with clients is you turn the solar switch on and those go down to 24 cents in total. What commercial business owners, I think, their big driver is demand charges, right? Think about a reserve gas tank in this huge warehouse of power that any utility has to keep on reserve. So if every facility in this valley turned every single thing they could possibly turn on within all their facilities at peak, the utility has to have enough power on demand or reserve
cover that
for that period of time, right? Yeah. So the age-old adage is with farmers and pivot motors and pumps, right? Well, the pump's only turned on 4 months a year, but the farmer's paying a massive demand charge because those pumps are massive amp draws. They're drawing an intense amount of energy for a very short period of time, right? And we're talking 24 hours a day for 4 months. Well, the other 8 months of the year, the pump's turned off. But the farmer's still paying a ton of demand charges because of the intense draw that those are for the short period of time that those are on at peak times during the year.
Yeah.
Obviously summer and, those months. So, demand charges within the commercial sector, I think are a big factor. I mean, in 2019, through that C&I rate case, solar prior to that point was not able to affect demand charges in a commercial application. We had so many potential net metering customers in the agricultural sector at that time that was a main driver is to make compensation changes to irrigation really was their main issue. But what farmers kind of didn't realize at the time is that, okay, solar can affect demand charges now, but it doesn't really matter for a farmer because a pivot motor is drawing the exact same demand at 2 a.m. in the morning as it is at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So it's not really getting a farmer anywhere versus an industrial client that's an 8 to 5 operation where his peak is between 1 and 4 every day. That's where there's some significant savings.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah, we'd love to keep working with you. You're a wealth of knowledge, as you said. All this research and things you do every day is definitely adds up to build value for your clients. Love to keep on working with you, keep on referring clients to you, and appreciate you hopping on today. Where can people find you, Bryan? Like, what's the best way for clients to reach out to you, even if they have simple questions?
Really, any golf course around you'll be able to find something. No, just welcome to chat with anybody here in the community. That website, www.egtsolar.com, or email is best usually. Bryan, Bryan @egtsolar.com. Love to hear from anybody out there that has questions, just wants to chat in general, and anybody that is smarter than me, which there's millions of people like that out there. So always willing to learn from people that, in all walks of life and business. So,
yeah, excellent. Okay. Yeah. We'll put that all in the show notes, your contact info.
Great.
Thanks for coming to the show, and we'll stay in touch, obviously, hopefully on the golf course next time, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you having me.